The first time my life exploded, it started with one sentence and one chipped mug. We agreed to let her stay, but if she keeps acting like this, I am done. I was 10. My feet didn't reach the floor. My hands wrapped around a hot chocolate in a crowded cafe. My mom thought I was zoning out, doodling on a napkin. I wasn't. I heard every single word she hissed into her phone. She didn't say my name. She didn't say my daughter. She said her, like I was some unwanted guest the adults had voted on. I watched her slide a thick envelope across the table to the man sitting opposite us. He didn't look at me either. He counted pages, nodded, said something about guardianship options and access to funds. That afternoon, my mom told me we were going to visit my grandparents for a while. 3 days later, I was gone. To the outside world, I disappeared. Flyers, news alerts, whispers at school. Poor Julia, after everything she's been through. 9 years after that sentence in the cafe, another envelope showed up at my mother's front door. Plain brown, with my handwriting on it. Inside was a mug she had once promised would always be ours. A photo from the day she decided I was a problem to be negotiated. A copy of my dad's will. And a small black drive that would burn down every lie she'd built her life on. When she opened that box, the entire house spun into panic so loud that even the neighbors heard it. My name is Chloe, and the day my mom dropped me at my grandparents' house will always feel like being carried to a return counter. She packed my suitcase without asking what I wanted to bring. No sketchbook, no favorite sweater. Just school clothes, a few books, and that same fat envelope from the cafe. In the car, she kept repeating phrases adults use when they're hiding something. This is for your own good. You need structure. We all agreed this is best. We. At my grandparents' house, they sent me upstairs with my suitcase. I pretended to unpack. Really. I pressed my ear against the door. Voices drifted up from the small office below. You can't just dump her here. She's a child, not a project. My grandfather's voice. My mom's voice was lower, but not soft. We agreed to let her stay with me, remember? That was the deal. I kept everything together after he died. I have earned some control. Then came the line that stole the last piece of safety I had. If she keeps acting like this, I am done. You can take her. Sign whatever you need. I'm tired of being the bad guy. Sign whatever you need. Like my life was paperwork. I crept down the hallway, shifted until I could see into the office. The envelope from the cafe was sliced open on the desk. Pages fanned out like a deck of very expensive cards. I saw my name printed in bold on the first page. A trust. Numbers with too many zeros. Conditions. My dad's name and the words, "For the benefit of my daughter Chloe." My father, who was always just a framed smile and a tragic story of drunk driving in our house. My grandfather jabbed at the paper. He set this up for her education. You were supposed to use it for Chloe, not for granite countertops and retreats. My mom's face hardened. Those renovations kept a roof over her head. I did what I had to do. You think raising her alone is free? My grandmother's voice was quieter, but there was steel underneath. He never wanted this. You know that. He, my father. The one who apparently had opinions no one shared with me. I backed away from the stairs before anyone could catch me. Shut myself in the guest room. Same brown eyes as my dad's photo. Same crooked front tooth. I tried to imagine what it felt like to be talked about like a line item on a budget. Sign whatever you need. If the people who are supposed to fight for you talk about you like a contract they regret, what exactly are you supposed to feel in return? I waited until the house had gone quiet, then slipped out of bed. The office door was slightly ajar. The envelope was gone, but a single page had slipped under a paperweight. I slid it free with shaking hands. It was my dad's will. Even at 10, I could read the line that mattered. All remaining funds in the trust are to be used solely for the benefit of my daughter, Chloe. Solely. Not for my mom's new kitchen. Not for vacations I was never invited on. Not for the life she had built while telling me things are tight this month. That night, I fell asleep clutching that crumpled page under my pillow. For the first time, I understood there was a difference between being loved and being tolerated because the money came with you. 2 days later, I stopped being a person with an address. It happened on a gray morning that smelled like burnt toast and stale coffee. My mom had gone back to the city for work. I couldn't stay in that house and pretend I didn't know I had been traded. So I ran. I left a note that just said, "I'm sorry," because that's what kids like me always write. I tucked my dad's will page, the only photo of him holding me, and a silver keychain into my backpack. I took $37 from the emergency jar. The bus station was 3 neighborhoods away. A police officer in a too-big jacket crouched in front of me. "Hey, you look lost. You got a name?" I almost said her, just to see what it felt like to use their word. Instead, I said Chloe, and told him the address I'd run from. They took me back. My mom cried on cue. My grandparents looked relieved and heartbroken at the same time. But nothing changed. I was still the problem that needed managing. So, I ran again. And again. Until finally, a social worker named David sat me down in a gray room that smelled like artificial lemon and said, "You know you have rights, don't you? Your father left something for you, something your mother controls, but she shouldn't." For the first time, someone talked to me like I wasn't a burden, like I was a person who'd been wronged. Over the next few years, David became my advocate. He helped me understand that my dad hadn't died drunk driving. My mom had lied about that to control the narrative. That my dad's parents had been fighting to see me, but my mom had blocked them. That the trust fund my dad left was supposed to be mine, and my mom had been spending it on herself. By the time I turned 19, I had a plan. Not just to disappear, but to make sure everyone knew why. I spent months gathering evidence. Bank statements, emails, text messages, the lie about my dad's death, the money she'd spent, the family she'd kept from me. I worked with David to create something my mom would never see coming. A website. Simple, clean, devastating. On it, I laid out everything. My dad's will, the trust fund, the withdrawals, screenshots of her telling people I was difficult, that I'd run away because I couldn't handle structure, photos of her at speaking engagements, talking about her journey as a single mother, how she'd overcome tragedy, how she'd raised a daughter alone, all while that daughter was living with foster families, moving from place to place, because she'd told everyone I was too troubled to stay. I created a video, me, sitting in front of a camera, calm, clear. My name is Chloe. My mother told you I ran away. The truth is, she negotiated me away when I was 10 years old. This is the proof. I embedded a QR code into a painting I'd created, the mug from that day in the cafe, surrounded by broken text from contracts and agreements. Anyone who scanned it would be taken to the website. Then I packaged it all up. The mug, the painting, a copy of my dad's will, a flash drive with every piece of evidence, and I mailed it to her house with a note. You agreed to let me stay. I'm agreeing to let the truth out. We mailed the box on a Monday. On Wednesday, the storm hit. By the time we reached my mom's neighborhood, my phone was buzzing with notifications. The link was being opened in different states, at a hospital network, at a media company, at a publishing house. My grandparents, my dad's parents, sat in the front seats, hands clasped so tightly their knuckles were white. I sat in the back, heart beating faster with every turn. The driveway was full. My mom's car, my uncle's sedan. We could hear raised voices from the sidewalk. The front door was half open. The living room looked like a set from one of my mom's interviews. Tasteful, coordinated, carefully curated. Only now it was also wrecked. The coffee table was buried in papers, printed emails, screenshots of the website, copies of my dad's will. The mug we had sent sat on its side, a dark ring of spilled coffee spreading across the surface. My mother stood in the middle of the room, phone pressed to her ear. I don't know how they got those files. It's taken out of context. It's a smear campaign. She turned and saw us. For a second, her face emptied. No practiced expression, no TV smile, just raw shock. Hi, Mom. The room seemed to tilt. You're alive, my mother whispered. I've been alive this whole time. You just preferred the version of the story where I was gone. She flinched, then recovered, slipping into the posture she used on camera. You can't just show up like this. The police looked for you. I thought someone took you. I was terrified. Until it became convenient to leave the story unfinished. A missing daughter makes a powerful chapter in a book about resilience, right? My uncle stared at the printed pages on the table. They know about the trust, about the transfers. My mother's jaw clenched. Those records aren't public. They have to be fake. They're not, David said, stepping forward, holding up a folder. We got them legally. You remember signing the releases? Her eyes flashed with something ugly. You had no right to share them. He didn't raise his voice. Your husband hired me to protect his daughter. The court agreed. You misused her money, lied about his death, and built a public persona on a story that erased both of them. My grandmother from my father's side stepped forward. You showed us one email years ago. You said it was from Chloe, saying she hated us, that seeing us hurt too much. Was that fabricated too? My mom opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time, she seemed to understand there was no angle left. I was trying to protect my stability. You were trying to take her from me. You were using her like a guarantee, my grandfather replied. You were using Mark's death like a shield. My mother turned to me, eyes wet and furious. You have no idea what it was like. I was grieving. I was alone. I did what I had to. You did what you wanted. You told everyone my dad was drunk when he died, when you knew he wasn't. You told me his parents didn't care about me, when they were fighting to see me. You spent money he left for my future, then called it sacrifice. Her voice rose. I fed you. I clothed you. You made me grateful for resources that were legally mine. The words hung in the air like smoke. My uncle spoke up quietly. I recorded the statement because I couldn't watch you lie anymore. I was there the night you said you'd sign her away if it meant you could start over. I heard you say she was too much work. My mother looked like he'd slapped her. You promised you'd never tell. You promised a lot of things. We saw where your promises led. On the table, my painting lay face up, the mug in the center surrounded by broken lines of text. My mom picked it up with trembling hands. What is this supposed to be? The agreement we lived under. The one I didn't sign, but paid for anyway. She saw the QR code in the corner, let out a bitter laugh. Always so dramatic, just like your father. Turn everything into performance. No, this isn't drama. This is documentation. She looked around the room at the people she'd spent years controlling. You're going to destroy me, my career, my reputation, everything I worked for. For years, you made me the villain in your story, the difficult child who ran away, the proof that your tough love was necessary. Pause. I'm just returning the narrative to its rightful owner. My grandmother, from my father's side, put a hand on my shoulder. We didn't come here to watch you be cruel. I'm not. Cruelty is calling a child a burden and spending her inheritance on your image, then selling that as love. My mother sank onto the edge of the couch, the fight draining out of her. So, what happens now? Now? Legally, there will be consequences. The trust will be restored. The board will decide what to do with your positions. You'll have to correct the public record about your husband's death. And personally? Personally was the 10-year-old in the cafe feeling like a bargaining chip. Personally was the teenager watching a woman on TV call herself a hero while talking about a daughter she no longer had. Personally, I'm not here to fix you. I'm here so you can't pretend I never existed. Her shoulders sagged. If there's anything left under all of this, you'll have to find it without using me as your excuse. I placed a second envelope on the table. This is a statement, one you can sign, admitting what you did with the trust and correcting what you said about my dad. Pause. Whether you sign it or not, I'm going to be fine. Her fingers hovered over the envelope. And if I do sign? Then maybe one day we can talk again. Not as a therapist and a case study. Not as a martyr and a villain. Just as two people who finally stopped lying about what happened. I didn't wait for her answer. As we left the house, the neighbors' curtains twitched. Phones buzzed. Somewhere, someone was pressing play on the video again, watching my family's carefully arranged story fall apart at the seams. Revenge didn't feel like fireworks. It felt like stepping outside for the first time after a storm and realizing the air is finally clear. You would think the world would explode when a woman who built a career on honest parenting gets exposed for lying about almost everything. It didn't explode. It cracked quietly and steadily. Her morning show pulled her segment from their site. The hospital announced she'd chosen to step down to focus on personal matters. The publisher listed her next book as indefinitely delayed. The investigation into the trust dragged on for months. Eventually, David called me with a small smile. "They're restoring everything, with interest, and your mother has signed the statement." He handed me a copy. My mother's signature sat at the bottom of a page that used precise language. Misuse of funds. Inaccurate characterization of my father's death. Misrepresentation of my relationship with my paternal family. There was no apology in the legal text. There never is. But the act of signing it was a kind of confession. A week later, a letter arrived at my grandparents' house. My mother's handwriting, shaky but familiar. Dear Chloe, I don't expect you to forgive me. Not now. Maybe not ever. I convinced myself I did what I had to do to survive. Seeing it all laid out, I can't pretend anymore that I didn't hurt you. I'm sorry. She wrote about fear, about grief, about how easy it had been to believe her own version of events once people praised her for being strong. If you ever want to talk, I'll be here. If you never do, I'll live with that. For once, you get to decide. I folded the letter and put it in a box with my dad's will, the photo from the cafe, and the silver keychain. In my art class, I started a new series, large canvases, all based on contracts, adoption forms, prenuptial agreements, leases. Every one of them had a child's silhouette somewhere in the composition. I called the series Fine Print. At the opening, one woman stood in front of the piece based on my dad's will for a long time. It feels like someone is trying to step out of a document, like they realize their whole life is written in someone else's handwriting. I smiled. That's close. Later, sitting on the porch with my grandfather, he asked the question, "Do you feel better, now that she's lost so much?" The honest answer wasn't simple. Sometimes I replay the look on her face when she saw the will and realized other people knew. And I feel like I can finally breathe. And other times? Other times, I wonder if I went too far. If I could have just taken the money back quietly, if blowing up her life makes me just as ruthless as she was. He took a long breath. The difference is that you told the truth. She built a life on hiding it. That didn't erase the knot in my chest, but it loosened it. Here's what this story taught me. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you will talk about you like you're a contract they're stuck in. We agreed to let her stay, as if your entire existence is a negotiation, a burden they're tolerating. This story taught me that being chosen conditionally isn't being chosen at all. It's being kept on standby until you become inconvenient. My mother didn't just spend my inheritance. She stole my narrative, made herself the hero of a story where I was the problem child, when really, I was the child she decided was a problem. The real lesson? When someone treats your life like paperwork they wish they could shred, walking away isn't abandonment. It's refusing to live in their version of your story. So now, I want to ask you, if you found out your parent had been stealing your inheritance while telling everyone you were too troubled to manage, what would you do? If they'd lied about your other parent's death to control the narrative, built a public career on a story where you were the villain, would you expose them? Or would you take your money back quietly and disappear? Maybe you'd handle it differently, confront them privately, give them a chance to come clean before going public, demand repayment without the public exposure. I really want to know. Because here's the deeper question. When someone turns your trauma into their success story and erases the truth to do it, do you owe them privacy? If your parents spent years telling people you were the difficult one, while they were the one making you difficult to love, is exposing that truth revenge? Or is it just finally refusing to carry their lie? And here's the hardest part. If you destroy someone's reputation by telling the truth about them, are you the cruel one? Or were they cruel first, and you're just making sure the world knows what you've always known? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, because this isn't just about trust funds or missing children or lies. It's about knowing when someone's version of you has become so distorted that the only way to survive is to burn their story down and build your own. Let's discuss.